Hello and welcome to our 10th year anniversary series of podcasts. We have today one of our illustrious guests from our community, Tai Donovan, who is here with us, has been involved in the community for many years now, has helped not just drive a number of initiatives throughout the community, but also he has an excellent robotics program that has initiated lots of kids into technology as well, and not just HPCC systems and open source technology, but also a myriad of other technologies too. So welcome, Tai, and thank you very much for being here. So can you tell us a little bit more about you? So
Well, certainly. Well, thank you so much, Fabio, for the invitation. It's been an honor over the past 5 years to have such a great opportunity for myself and for my students working with you and with many people in LexisNexis and HPCC Systems that have dedicated a lot of their time and knowledge to help myself and my students out with their beginning of a journey. But thank you. My name is Tai Donovan. I run the robotics program here at American Heritage. We started this program about 8 years ago with a handful of students, and over the course of time, and during this same time that we've had this relationship with all of you, our program has grown substantially. And I think one of the big driving forces for me, I've been a teacher for 20 years, and trying to engage students in a traditional learning environment is not as easy as it once was. Times are changing, interests are changing, and the way that students get information changes and more so rapidly. With robotics, with all of the computer science applications, programming, and all of the great resources that we have available to us, I've really benefited from taking advantage of the hands-on experience, the getting kids involved. And one of the things that I remember doing with, after our introduction 5+ years ago, we started working on an autonomous driving project. And that quickly spiraled into a very large golf cart chassis, where we were able to replace some of the parts where you would interface physically with electronic components. And it was such an ambitious project that I don't think any of us, myself or my students, ever accepted that it wasn't possible. We just assumed, okay, let's go ahead and do it. And that's really been how we've done things here ever since. I think getting my students involved with very high level concepts sometimes can be intimidating, but if you have a group of kids that are really highly motivated and you give them access to information and mentors and resources, you'll find that very few things are impossible anymore. And these kids have really sparked my interest in growing as an educator. As the director of robotics here, I've had many opportunities to take their interests and grow. So the lab that you see behind us right now is a result of that. We were in a much smaller space when we started. As more and more students became interested in engineering, robotics, and programming, we needed a larger space. So the building that we're in now, we're just recently celebrated 2 years of breaking ground on this, and it's been a remarkable space to work in and
I
continued.
remember that. I
Yes,
remember the
yes.
inauguration of that building. So it's a Tai. One of the things that you said is quite interesting because yes, you work with kids and kids don't have preconceptions. So all of the fears that we have as adults to I don't know, not to fail and to get things done and complete them. Well, those are not as present in kids, so they can take bigger challenges and many times succeed even against some odds, right? That has been wonderful to see as well.
And I think you bring up an amazing point there. For myself, there are times when I doubted the direction of some of our projects, thinking, wow, we're getting in to some pretty sophisticated areas outside of my comfort zone as an educator and as a mentor to these kids. But when you have people like the employees that we have worked with from the local office here and from people that have come to visit, and that connection that we've developed over time, parts that I don't have a strong comfort level in, we've had a lot of people that have been able to, help guide these kids, especially with some of the internship projects and some of the special projects that we've had. So for me, what I get out of that enthusiasm from the students is challenging my thought process. I have life experiences that say, well, we've come up against this challenge before, and this might not be likely to succeed, or it might not be as possible. And as you were saying, the kids don't have that. They go, okay, let's try it. Let's figure it out as we go along. And for me, that enthusiasm, that excitement has benefited me personally. And I think, it's the yin and yang of it, the balance between my thoughts and what the kids are able to do. So it's a lot of fun.
Now, your own story is also quite interesting because you haven't been a robotics professor for 20 years. You were a teacher, but not of robotics. So how do you manage to make that transition into robotics?
Well, I think life throws you curveballs all the time. I've been a teacher for, like I was saying, 20 years. And through that, I've done different things throughout the summer. So you try to, start a summer program at the school you're working at, or some people go on vacation. I've never done really well with idle time. So when the school year ends, I'm looking for the next project or the next something to do. And I worked for a company for a number of years that traveled around, and we hosted robotics and engineering 2-week experiences at different universities around the country, at MIT, at Stanford, Boston University, Georgia Tech, different locations where we could hire their professors to give students an introduction to this, tour their facilities, look at the labs and the projects that their students are working on. And the program was intended to expose kids to a new world, to a possibility that they could study in college. But at the same time, it exposed me to something that I was, I think I always had that passion to figure out how things worked. I was the kid who took, the presents apart as soon as I got them to find out how the motors made the wheels.
That's the maker spirit, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think after that, I wanted to have something at the school. So when I started working at Heritage, I started the robotics program here because I wanted to work locally. My kids were growing up and I wanted to do something here. And it started with camp and now has grown into a robotics program, a competition team with 100 some odd students involved. And I never would have planned it. If I'd be lying to you if I said I had a plan the whole time. It happened, and I'm happy it has.
Yes, it did. So, and your students have won a number of competitions around the U.S. And so, how is that experience for them? So many of your students just start fairly young in this program, and they keep coming back, right, every year to continue to grow in the program and go through these competitions and eventually succeed. How do you feel they see themselves when they look back and they see that they started little and with no knowledge whatsoever?
Well, I've had a lot of opportunities to have some of those conversations with my outgoing seniors recently. I have 5 really strong core members of the team that have just, passed that threshold. They're going off to their next step of the journey. And I knew them since they were little, because not only do we have a high school program, but I started a program that goes K through 2nd grade, 3rd through 5th, and then a middle school program as well. So I've known some of these kids since they were in 2nd or 3rd grade. And it was really neat to hear them tell their story, their journey, and it's different for every kid. But what it really comes down to is you have to find something you like and you're passionate about. And sometimes if it's that piece, if in these kids' cases, robotics, it's their everything. They may not be involved in sports,
Yeah.
but I use the analogy of sports. Some kids, they start off in little league, they play baseball in middle school, and then they plan on going off into college. But with our students, a lot of them that they leave here, they can go pro. They can become that engineer, that computer scientist, and it's, I think a much more realistic outcome for a lot of our students. But they get to have fun along the way too.
Yes, it is. And of course, and as you said, find their passion, which is the most important piece, right?
Yeah,
I think
100%.
these things can make them really fulfilled in life. And if you love what you do, you'll never work a single day. And
Yeah.
I hope for them that that's the case, right?
Well, I think that drives us through a lot. It's amazing how much these students can balance because they're taking a rigorous course load with AP and honors courses. They're high achieving students, and robotics, especially the competition side of it, takes a tremendous amount of time. We travel a lot, and as you were saying, these students have traveled all over the country. They've won a lot of events, and that takes a lot of hard work. But the reward of it is the satisfaction in also in your work, but also the recognition. Because most of the time when you're in high school, what gets the most recognition are a lot of the sports teams. And that's
Yeah.
and I loved participating in sports when I was in high school. But if you're not, you didn't have the opportunity to be a member of a team. And so we're somewhere between that academic and the
I was
sports.
never into sports, so
Yeah,
I fully understand them.
yeah,
So and finding another outlet to succeed and show off their achievements, I think is important.
yes, definitely,
Yeah, there are many
definitely.
kids in that situation. So, but tell me a little bit more now. Let's get more into the programming side of things, the
Hmm.
computer sciencey type of areas. Because when you started this program, mostly was around uh, mechanical engineering,
Yes.
perhaps, and there was less about programming and computer science. And then eventually, your teams and your kids and you got more into programming and did quite a few things even with HPC Systems and
Oh,
and
yes.
and the open source project. So tell me a little bit more about that experience. You had some great students that even at their young age were pretty good programmers too.
Well, I think the evolution of what we've done took place mainly because of the students that I had and the connection that we had with HPCC Systems, because I was not the driving force behind getting the kids involved with the programming side. I'm not a programmer. That was not my forte. I can program, and I can program our robot to do simple things and enough to accomplish the goals that I set forward, but not to accomplish the stuff the kids wanted to do. And when we started with the autonomous golf cart project, that was more of an engineering feat from my standpoint. But then when it came to the navigation, the implementation of sensors, taking the data in, I realized quickly that although my comfort level was in the mechanical side, I had to brush up pretty quickly on that. And that's where the relationship helped out greatly. But after the autonomous golf cart project and speaking with you and other people um, around, we wanted to start looking at how we're going to take the data that's all around us, or the surroundings, and interpret that through data, through the use of sensors. And that's where we started evolving the project. Now with the security robot project that's behind us, I think we transitioned from the original building of this robot to now this is a platform that is going to be with us for a number of years, driving around and ingesting the world in ones and zeros, and spitting out decisions and making movement based on the programming that the kids are doing behind this. So the machine learning aspect was one that I was extremely intrigued and intimidated with at the same time. What do you do with the data? How do you get a physical object that doesn't have a brain make decisions to avoid obstacles, to go in a certain direction? And that's where this partnership has been so beneficial, with starting with Aramis a number of years ago, Jack
Yeah.
with his internship, and our
Yeah.
future intern, Karina. This has now taken all of the work that they started, developing the API for the robot operating system that we have, so we could make that bridge from what we were doing to the world of HPCC. And now that we have the platform established, the building side isn't the main focus. Now it's, okay, if we have cars driving by us and thousands of license plates, can we develop a pattern? Are there certain times of the day when there's more traffic and less traffic? And does that overlay with a regular schedule that makes sense? Can we make sense of this information? The facial recognition side has been so exciting, because to me, it was always that TV show or the science fiction movie where you see that computer screen in the green box tracing people's faces. Now we're doing that in the lab, and we're able to walk in front of a live camera feed and take that, compare it, with thousands of pictures. And, I think we were upwards of 93% accuracy in our small data set. So what we'll be doing moving forward is making that I guess, all of the data larger, opening that up to a larger group of students, pictures, and who knows where it goes.
Well, I don't know if you realize, but you moved from just purely mechanical systems to understanding PID controllers, to going to computer vision, to adding machine learning. The speed of getting into more complex systems has been tremendous. All of this happened in the span of a few years in your lab,
Yeah.
so it's not. This is I think it's a huge feat to you and your students on achieving these type of things, and maintaining this continuity, which also takes a lot of organization. As you said before, many of your students finish their time at school, of course, for good. That's great, because they move on to college. But you need to keep replenishing your pool of students that get into the lines, and teaching those students what the other students already known over the years. So that also takes quite a bit of organizational skills to achieve.
Yeah, it's honestly probably my biggest challenge. I kind of relate it to, it's the best job in the world, and as somebody who's running this program, I have a lot of great workers, and we could even kind of refer to them as employees in a sense.
Yeah.
The only challenge is the turnover is so rapid. So like
Well,
what you're saying is,
and it's
you have
also
to get that.
very predictable. You know
Yes,
when they
yes.
are going to leave, so
Oh,
you need to
which is
prepare for that.
a
Yeah.
lot of anxiety when you have students that you've worked with for such a long time and are such an integral part of that. I think it's natural for myself or anybody in my position to have some apprehension about graduation. I'm excited for them, of course.
Of
I'm
course,
really
yeah.
excited, but there is that selfish part too, where I think, oh man, I'm really going to miss
My
that
best
person.
programmer just left. What do I do now?
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's a true testament to the program itself, and the school here. We have a number of just amazingly talented kids that come up, and they're hungry for that opportunity. So when one student leaves, they've been mentoring kids for a number of years, and those kids just rise up to the challenge. When an Aramis graduates, there's a Jack to take his place, and there's a Karina right behind Jack, and behind Karina will be a whole row of kids.
Of
So
course.
for
Yeah.
me, it's, once you accept that, you work with what you have, and it's great. I really enjoy that.
So, Tai, this has been a great conversation. I don't want to make it too long, so we'll give people opportunity to to listen to it
Certainly.
entirely. But I just want to know, when are you going to attach the lasers to your security robot? I'm just kidding. No, no, no lasers.
Well, we're going to start small before we go fully autonomous, but we do have big plans, and I think the security robot has been such a perfect match for the collaboration that we have between the school and HPCC, but also the real need for gathering information in a school setting with many, instances and security lapses that have taken place. This was one of those projects that really hit home, especially with things that have happened locally and globally. Being able to gather information that may prevent or help the reaction time of something that is a real tragic event. So it's now not a project. Now it has real meaning behind it. There's a lot of energy and excitement about the project. So we'll keep working on this for a long time to come.
Great. Thank you very much, Tai, and
Thank
thank you
you.
for everything you do for the community. Thank
Well,
you.
have a great one.
Welcome.
Bye now.
Later.